Alrighty. Yo. Let's get this going here. We are going to be doing a quick little playthrough of A Tale for Two. It's an interesting little escape room I've got going here. A duo escape room of sorts. Yeah, it's a fun adventure, so I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. And yeah, now this little intro is done, we are going to get into it. So the first level here, so to speak, you and your teammate have been locked in prison, and you're going to need to figure out the 3-digit code to escape your cell, and that code is going to be made up of various symbols. Now these symbols look very similar to one another, and you're going to need to tell your teammate what symbols are on their lock, and the symbols are located directly above your teammate, so you'll be able to see your teammate's symbols, but you won't be able to see your own symbols. And then you're going to kind of need to communicate. Alright, this is your first symbol, it's the snow cloud. Your second one's the hazard sign. And a lot of those symbols look very similar, so you're going to have to be maybe be a little bit descriptive about what the symbol is. So yeah, that first level is a little bit tricky. Now on to the second room of sorts. It's not really levels in this map, more so like rooms that you have to cross and backtrack, and all sorts of that good shenanigans. So the second room, the cavern, or whatever you want to call it, is where you're going to unlock your first items, the bow and arrow and the tow hook cannon. You're going to need to use that bow and arrow to help the player cross those bridges. Now once both players have gotten their items, you're actually going to want to open that door up and go back into the starting room. And this is because you're actually going to need to switch sides, because the player with the tow hook cannon is going to need to be on the side the bow and arrow player was originally on, so that he can shoot him across this gap here. And that's a pretty tricky little puzzle, so if you get stuck on that, I completely get it. So now that they've switched sides, you're going to want to blast him across the little canyon there. And now the bow and arrow player will be able to stand on his pressure plate, which will make the elevator go up for the tow hook cannon player. And when that tow hook cannon player is going up the elevator, he's going to need to shoot these targets to make the gates open. Otherwise, he will fall through and get stuck. A little bit tricky to shoot those targets, but nothing you can't handle. Up onto the next level here, there's going to be 3 different colored shapes: a green triangle, a red hexagon, and a blue square, and that is going to be the code to your teammate's lock, which has a red digit, a blue digit, and a green digit. So it's the number of sides that each shape has. Once you go ahead and get that lockbox open, there's going to be a mathematical combination where there are multiplication signs, plus signs, and minus signs, and those fit into the equation on the other player's card, which if you add up all that math and do it, you will get the code 317. And once you have that entered in, the doors will pop open and you'll be on to the mines. And this is a little bit of a spatial awareness puzzle. Both players are kind of going to have a map, and there's a couple different objects located around your room in that map, and they have an icon of where you need to pickaxe the wall to get to the next level. And you have a map of your teammate's room, so you're going to have to help your teammate navigate around the mine and pickaxe the correct section of the wall. Pretty tricky, but with some good communication, if you got a good teammate, you can make magic happen. The trial of combat here, this is an interesting level. Not really a puzzle, more of a fight your teammate to the death game. The first player to kill their teammate 3 times wins. Something new I'm going to try out. You might see more of this from me in the future. But all around, just a little fun game, a little competition between teammates. I think competition keeps it fun. And then once one of the two of you all has eliminated the other player 3 times, you will unlock the door, and you'll be on to the Great Cavern. And this is a little teamwork puzzle here where there are these switches you can flip, or these wheels that you can spin. to rotate these different bridges, and you're going to need to get both players to that little cabin on the other side. But there's a little bit of a trick to it. Kind of got to puzzle it out, think about which bridge turns what. It's a tricky puzzle. It's kind of like a maze. It's not that difficult, I think. I feel like most teams should be pretty, they should be able to do it. But it's a little bit tricky, to figure out what you're trying to do, get stuff going. There is no jumping, so you can't jump, which just makes things a little bit easier for the puzzle mechanics. It's just a back and forth, turning these wheels, going from point A to point B, finding the right spots. And then once you do, you guys will both be able to stand on those pressure points on the other side, and that door will pop right open. Onto the next little section of the map here, where you're going to want to blast your teammate across this gap. The train bridge or the minecart has collapsed. You're then going to want to pick up this harpoon gun and bring your teammate back across, and he's going to want to stand on that pressure plate to raise the elevator. And it's very important that you have the harpoon gun player be going up this elevator, because you're going to need to use that harpoon gun to pull your teammate across the gap in a second here. So that towhook cannon player stands on the platform. Now the harpoon guy raises this gate up. Towhook cannon player can come back around. Slow and steady. And then once you get that guy, you can bring him across. It's a little bit difficult to get the guy across there. Nothing too bad though. Takes a couple tries. You just bounce off that wall a little bit. There's a little lip there on the piece of wood. But then once you get your teammate across, your door will pop on open. So the first real escape room-ish level that I've done on this one. The library here. The first thing you're going to want to do is the player, topmost player is going to have 3 switches to flip, and he's going to want to flip all 3 of those switches, and those switches are going to light up flames on your chandelier, and that is going to give you the combination to the lock on the door, and the combination to that is going to be 2, 5, 3, and that's just the order of the number of flames that light up. So it's 2 flames light up, then 5 flames light up, and then 3. It is a little bit tricky to sort of see that chandelier. It's it's a little obscure. You might not notice exactly what those switches are doing, but if you take a little time, you figure it out. You're then going to unlock this room with these colored holes, and more importantly, you're going to unlock the elevator. So you can send the elevator down to your teammate, and that teammate is going to need to move that ball and place it on the elevator. The ball is a little bit finicky, just a tad bit. And once you get that ball on the elevator, you're going to want to send it up. Each player has one switch that sends it up, and one that sends it down. Now, the bottom player is going to have these 3 different colored flames that they're trying to figure out the combination to, and the top player is going to have these holes that they can drop the ball down. When you drop the ball down, it's either going to come out of one of the 3 flamed holes. So in that case, we just dropped the ball down the red hole, and that indicates that that hole needs to be lit up the color red. If it doesn't drop down one of the holes with a flame, if it drops down the leftmost hole, it means that that color is not any of the flames. So we know the red hole, and then you're going to need to send that ball back up, and then you are going to need to send that elevator back down again, and put the ball back on it once more, and do it again. And there is a little bit of trial and error. You kind of just have to guess which color hole is which. Sometimes you'll get it wrong, sometimes you might get it right. A little bit of guesswork. But yeah, so the first one is the red one, is going to be that far right. Then you're going to want to push it down the green hole. The green hole is going to be the edge hole there. gotta set that flame to the correct color, and then you can send the ball back up and do it again. And the final hole is the blue, light blue. So the code is green, light blue, red. And once you get those three, the door will pop open, and that will gain the bottom player access to a new room which has C4 in it, as well as another book, which you may have noticed all these books around the room. Those will come into play in a moment. But you're going to need to throw that C4 onto the ball, not the platform. You want it to be specifically on the ball, because your teammate is not going to be able to pick that C4 up, and then you're going to want to send it back up the elevator. And then you're going to need to carefully get that ball with the C4 out of the elevator, and then you're going to push it over, and then you are going to want to push that ball over to the pile of rocks over there. Then once you get that ball close to the rocks, you're going to want to have your teammate blow it up. It's a little tricky. You want to make sure you get it kind of right on that pile of rocks. That ball just goes absolutely flying, man. It's crazy. Out of control. So yeah, once you get that ball next to the pile of rocks, you can blow it up nice and easy. And boom shakalaka, you're into the next room. Now this is going to be the part where all these books come into play. You're going to have 8 different books numbered 1 to 8. And on them is going to be random words. One of the books will have an actual word, and it'll say sword. And these books are all word scrambles of these items that you have on the board. So on the board you'll have gnomes, book, sword, dragon, globe, lantern, knight, and you're going to need to look at the books and find the correct order. So you're going to have to unscramble the words and then find the correct order. And that correct order is gnome, lantern, pack, dragon, sword, globe, book, knight. And then once you get that entered in that correct order, the door will pop on open onto the final level here, the laboratory, and probably one of the trickiest levels. First part of the laboratory is you're going to want to raise both of the number 7s, the plus 7s, so that adds the water up to 14. And then you're going to want to turn off the -8, and that will get the water down to 6. That'll open the door for the bottom player. Now there's going to be these symbols on the desk that are different colors, and your teammate is once again going to have to kind of tell you which symbol is which. And he's going to tell you the order of those symbols. And then you're going to have to turn these switches on based off the color. So you're going to have to figure out which switch is which color, and then you're going to have to figure out which symbol is that, which symbol is in that order. So you have to figure out the order of these switches. Once you do that, that will pop the door open, and the player will gain access to all of these minerals, along with some information about how to concoct the potions needed to escape the level. It's going to load up on all of those minerals, and then there's the little potion concoction sheet. He's going to want to go to the minecart and send those on over. Loads the minecart, and that will send it to your teammate. Takes a little bit to get over there. Slow and steady wins the race. And then once that minecart does get over there, you'll have to use the harpoon gun to get the minerals out of the cart. And the only mineral that you're going to need for right now is going to be the coal. Because first we're going to need to turn on the system. First, there's going to be 8 steps you have to do. The first step is you have to turn on the machine that blows out black smoke. And second, you're going to want to turn the wooden wheel. And then third, you're going to want to put the coal in the furnace. And then fourth, you're going to want to turn the red wheel twice. The red wheel with 4 spokes, that is, they look slightly different. And then fifth, you're going to need to turn the yellow wheel 3 times. And each player has the instructions for their teammate. And then 6th, you're going to need to turn the red wheel 5 spokes. You're going to need to turn that one 6 times. And then 7th, you're going to need to turn the blue wheel 5 times. And then finally, you're going to need to turn the red switch on the side of the cauldron. You're going to need to turn that green. And once you get all of that done, it will turn on the correct sequence for the potions. And that will activate the cauldron as well as the fire chamber. Now, the player is going to need to collect all these mushrooms, and he's going to need a good amount of those gems to create all of the potions that we need here. So there's 3 potions that we're going to need to make, and you're going to need to use a correct combination of these minerals and these mushrooms. So one player is going to have to read which minerals we need, and it's not going to have the mushrooms picture, it's going to have the mushrooms name, which the mushrooms are named on these little signs. So you're going to have to read the name, you have to check what the name of the mushroom is, and you have to put them in. So the first one is going to be a blue mushroom, Edodes, along with some other minerals, with 2 minerals. And then you're also going to need to set the correct fire color, which the fire color for the first potion is yellow, which is indicated on the side of the slurp tank there. So the first potion needs to be yellow, the second one needs to be blue fire, and the third one needs to be purple fire. And on top of the correct fire color, you also need to put the correct ingredients in. Now if you go ahead and do this for all of the potions, you have to read the list off, figure out what ingredients you need, which mushrooms and which minerals, and then you will also have to make sure you have the correct fire color. And then once you craft all 3 of the potions, you will be teleported to the final end room, and that is the end of the map. GG's. Thanks for playing. If you made it this far, honestly, hats off to you. This is a really tough map. You and your duo are amazing. And let me know if you want me to see more maps kind of like this one, the duo style. I enjoyed making it, and hopefully it was a fun one. That's really all from me, y'all. I hope you liked the map. Otherwise, peace.